So, not long ago, we sat down and talked about the Texas Longhorns 2024 recruiting class and their slow start. And I posed the question to all of you, should Longhorn fans be worried? Now, in fairness, it did not take long for me to answer my own question, and my takeaway was absolutely not. It is way too early for any fan of any team out there to be concerned about where they sit in recruiting, as it was only June. Now it's July. However, since I posed that question, Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns have got on a little bit of a winning streak, and today we need to talk about the three newest additions to the Texas Longhorns recruiting class. Before we can, as always, y'all know the drill, I have got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Are you excited with the way Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns are recruiting right now? Let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below, as those interactions seem small. They are massive to content creators such as myself, in both getting picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And as always, anytime there are these group commitments, we start on the defensive side of the ball because I'm biased towards the defensive side of the ball. Luckily for Texas fans, the two guys we're going to be talking about today are guys that I think are really going to excite the Texas Longhorn fan base. And we're going to start with Jordon Johnson-Rubell, a top 150 player in the nation regardless of position, and a safety that really moves the needle. He comes in specifically as the number 134 player in the nation, the number 11 safety, and a top 30 player in the state of Florida, a state loaded with talent year in, year out. And whenever you turn on the film, there's a lot to like about Jordon Johnson-Rubell. First and foremost, this is a track guy. He has got legitimate track speed. But the thing that really stood out to me is that even though he's 5'10", this is someone who welcomes contact. Not only someone who is not afraid to initiate contact, but someone who welcomes it. And there's an important distinction to be made there. If you are not afraid to initiate contact, you understand this is the game of football. I'm playing safety. It's what I have to do. If you welcome contact like Jordon Johnson-Rubell, well, whenever the line of scrimmage opens up and the running back sees through the hole and has a clear shot at the safety, how do you react? A guy like Jordon Johnson-Rubell, that's what he lives for. This guy comes down into the box and lays the wood time and time again. And personally, I love that from my safeties. I love that from my defensive players because they're tone setters. You want that wide receiver to think twice about running a drag or slant over the middle. You want that running back to think twice about bouncing it to the outside or taking that open hole, because Jordon Johnson-Rubell may be on the other side waiting to give him the consequence of his actions. Personally, I love that. Defenses need tone setters, and that's exactly what he is. Though he's 5'10", he is an absolute football player through and through, and that's not even speaking on his coverage abilities, which he has an abundance of. One of my favorite aspects to his game is the discipline he brings to the table. We just got done talking about how he is a tone setter on defense, but at the same time, he has supreme understanding of when to lay the wood and when a form tackle is necessary. And personally, that's very impressive. At the high school level, whenever you see these guys that are tone setters on defense, they have this propensity to just try and lay the wood 24/7, 365. They're just out there headhunting, trying to take guys' heads off. And that's all well and good, but at a certain point, you're going to have to learn how to form tackle, because at the next level, you're not going to be able to take everyone's head off. You're going to have to be a form tackler. He already shows the understanding of when to lay the wood and when a form tackle is necessary, and he can form tackle. I love that. He's not even into his senior year yet, and he's displaying this understanding. At the end of the day, I think that this is a great win by Blake Gideon and Terry Joseph, two guys who continue to go on impressive winning streaks for the Texas Longhorns. This is a prospect I know Texas fans everywhere have got to be over the moon they add into their recruiting class, because he could be a true difference maker, and you get to maintain a pipeline to the state of Florida, a state you want that pipeline to be. We talked about this in the Alabama video earlier. There are a lot of key players in the state of Florida when we're talking about the Florida Gators, Florida State, Miami, and now UCF making a Power 5 berth. You want to maintain that pipeline, because if Miami turns it around on the football field, we know how Mario Cristobal can recruit. If Florida turns it around on the football field, the Gators are a historic program. I think everybody in college football is curious to see what Norvell and Florida State will do, but the same argument can apply for them. If they start turning it around, they'll have easier access to talent in their state. Something we have got to watch, but I think that kind of underscores why this is such a good win for the Longhorns. But now we need to turn our attention to the other defensive win the Texas Longhorns got. A win that comes at a position of supreme need in the class of 2024, defensive line. And of course, today, we're talking about 3-star defensive lineman out the state of Texas, Alex January, committing to stay home and play for the Longhorns. And Alex January plays his high school football out of Duncanville High School here in the DFW Metroplex. He stands 6'4", 325 pounds. So he has got the size you're looking for your big nasties to have to go and plug up holes in the middle and allow your linebackers to run free. And I think this is a great win for Texas because it comes at a position of need, but also there's something else we need to talk about here. Though I'm not saying that this will be the straw that breaks the camel's back to make Colin Simmons commit to the Texas Longhorns, I always liken recruiting to pouring water in a bucket. There are drops that fall in the bucket, and at a certain point, one of those drops is going to be the drop that causes the bucket to start to overfill. Is that what Alex January is to Texas in the Colin Simmons bucket? Not for me to say, but what I am saying is that it can easily be a drop in that bucket. A teammate of Colin Simmons committing to play for the Texas Longhorns, and now you have increased familiarity. Colin Simmons can stay home. He can stay around guys he knows that he played football with, that he's already familiar with. I think that's an incredibly powerful recruiting pitch, one we're really going to have to watch because Colin Simmons is such a big need for this class. But focusing back on Alex January, at the end of the day, you have a need at the interior defensive line. You got a guy that Bo Davis likes, and Bo Davis is one of the defensive line coaches you just kind of don't question. He's earned the benefit of the doubt, and I'm very excited to see what he continues to do on the recruiting trail going forward. But now we need to transition from the defensive side of the ball to the offensive side of the ball, where Texas once again gets a win that I think is going to really excite the Longhorn faithful. And of course, we're talking about 4-star wide receiver out the state of Texas, Parker Livingstone, a wide receiver who stands 6'3", 185 pounds, and runs track, has some really impressive 200-meter times, and it shows when you turn on the film. He comes in as the number 296 player nationally, the number 45 wide receiver, and a top 50 player in the state of Texas. And this, I think, is a big win. You can't teach 6'3". You certainly can't teach 6'3" with the ability to move in the way Parker Livingstone can move, because this is a guy that's not only taking go routes to the house. Time and time again, you're seeing him take quick slants, quick passes, and then be able to take it 50, 60, 75 yards for a touchdown. That's playmaking ability. And not very often do you find that type of playmaking ability in a 6'3" frame that stands 185 pounds before his senior year of high school. When he gets to Texas, he could easily be 195 pounds with legitimate playmaking ability, and I think that's what you have to love. We know what Steve Sarkisian does on the offensive side of the ball. There are a few coaches out there that anytime top playmakers on the offensive side of the ball commit to them, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. How can you argue with that? And Steve Sarkisian is one of those guys. We've seen what wide receivers do in his offense. We've seen what running backs do, what quarterbacks will do in his offense. And so to me, it makes complete sense when a prospect like a Parker Livingstone that's in the state of Texas will look and say, yeah, I think I want to go there. The other name we do need to talk about is Chris Jackson, though, the new Texas wide receiver coach, because he has gotten his second big win, and it hasn't taken him long to cultivate those 2 wins. I'm super intrigued to see what the future holds for him. He's a name that I know Texas fans were really excited whenever they hired him for that vacant wide receiver coach position. And look, early results are promising. 2 big wins on the trail. The other win he got, Freddie DeBose, that's a player who I think is going to shoot up the recruiting boards. The only reason he's not one of the top wide receivers in the nation, and he's still rated as one of the top wide receivers in the nation, but he is a top 200 player in the nation, I believe. It's been a while since I've looked at his rating. Whenever he committed was the last time. He's a top 200 player in the nation who has that ranking without playing basically any of his junior year. That's how gifted he is. He comes back healthy for his senior year, circle the name. He's going to fly up the recruiting boards, but it just underscores the point I'm trying to make here. That Chris Jackson, though he hasn't been there long, is already moving the needle for Texas. Something, if you're a Longhorns fan, you love. Hop down to the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know the names you're looking forward to commit next. That's it. See ya.